Hey guys. Um, I literally am in the middle of dance duty, so I've got to make this quick, but there have been very few moments in the last, I don't know, 8 months, 9 months that I have not had a week like this. And I say I because I'm front and center, but Virginians for Children's First is small. I have to give a shout out to my co-founder and my ride or die, Bobby Ebreth. He's not the one on here front and center, but we could not make this happen without him. But don't ever let anybody tell you, well, what can I do? I'm just one parent. Or what can I do? Nobody cares. Because I've had so many people write me over the last couple of weeks about Dessa and Chesterfield County sending this opt-out form. A lot of people knew what it was because if you've been following this channel or if you're on Facebook, our YouTube channel, or anything that I do, especially on Twitter, you know that I've been deep in exposing what social emotional learning really is, what it's doing, and especially in Chesterfield County. And even though I've pulled my children out because I had to, and it was just my choice, but we're still here. So guys, these opt-outs are a huge win. So don't let them shock you like it's something new. I think that's how some parents took it. Like, oh my God, Anne, look at this. What are they doing now? Is that they've been doing this since 2018. So I knew that Dessa was coming. Now I worked, now I say I, because it was summer break. And we do have an ally in this county. It's not the school board. It's not the superintendent. It's not the deputy superintendent. It's not many people, but there are a couple good people still on our team. So all summer, like every other week, I was having meetings with people in the county, showing them different opt-outs, showing them federal law, showing them that what they had been shoved down their throat about what social emotional learning is not the truth. And it took time and it took persistence to get even people who were halfway respecting to listen and to read the research and to pay attention. And so this was not. So I want everybody in Chesterfield County to know that when you get a Dessa opt-out, absolutely 100%. So just real quick. So today, So Dessa, which I'll show you what Dessa does in a second. So I didn't know that this was coming, probably because they didn't want me to know, but that's fine. So when I started getting earlier last week that parents were getting Dessa, because when I say I fought all summer. I had a meeting with Ann Coker and Catherine Haynes via Zoom on June 16th about this. Even last week, when they started coming in, I started sending them saying, hey, if you have children in this county, is this what you want being done to your children? And I'll show you all in a second why it's so important. And guys, for those of you that aren't in Chesterfield County, I want you to know what and why. This is social emotional learning. This is what's destructive about it, is the amount of data. So this was exciting. But then today, I didn't have any idea, even though I had a conference call with my person in Chesterfield County, that there was now a second step opt-out. This is huge, you guys. Like, second step is like giving an opt-out to Bill Gates. Second step is, now Chesterfield had the wonderful luxury of having James Lane. So these contracts, we had them long before anybody in the state, long before the legislation that SEL had to exist. Chesterfield County had these contracts. So seeing this today in combination with Dessa, so I want everybody to understand that this is not new. This is not something to be angry about, that they're just now doing this. And this is not the story. This is not the full story. And I think that everybody knows that whatever you're being told in Chesterfield County or in Virginia regarding what's coming out of education is that if they give you an opt-out, opt-out. I'm writing legislation on a transparency and education bill. So write your legislation, your delegates, your senators that will listen and say, hey, because all it is a reiteration, because there's federal law that says that parents were due this. So just real quick, I wanted to show you guys, and then maybe after, because I only have one child tonight and my husband is working. So maybe after she goes to bed, I want to show you guys, I'll pull it up, what Dessa does. This is not pretty, guys. This is not pretty at all. This is not something that you want done on your child. So hang on, sorry. Here we go. Okay. So where is it? I have it like 800 places. Why I can't find it right now, I don't know. All right, I'm going to get creative. Okay, so where is it? Okay, so this is actually from now last year. Where'd it go? I filed a FOIA. Well, actually, I didn't have to file a FOIA. So second step is social emotional learning. So yeah, it's the curriculum that they're going to be done in Flex Block. They're going to be doing it in study hall or homeroom, one of those. My daughter was having it done in Flex Block. Second step, and I will pull up. Okay, so when I found out about it, I wrote the school board. I wrote Merv, I wrote Wendell, I wrote everybody, and I said, under the Protection of Pupil Rights Amendment in the Virginia Code, I want access to my child's curriculum. And I was told, they gave me, it's called scope and sequence, where they'll give you, this is what they did to me, is they'll give you like a table of contents or a bunch of screenshots. And what you want to say is, if you actually want to know what it is, if you don't care, you just want your kid opted out, fine, just opt them out. But guys, the main point is that I need to do a deep dive and try and explain like how absolutely detrimental social emotional learning is, because apparently we are so far behind that I honestly don't know how to catch parents up to what it is and what it is not in that actual overall conspiracy. But I wanted to celebrate the victory, because this here, and it's being an ass, sorry. So I'm going to just send myself real quick what Dessa does. I think I downloaded all this shit. So one thing that you need to know is that this is a lesson from Second Step. And this is from Learning for Justice. What is Learning for Justice? And then there's CASEL, because there's nothing that's being done in these schools that's not CASEL aligned, but that's a whole different problem. So this is really important, is that when they tell you about, oh, well, we're just teaching about bullying. We're just teaching about, social awareness or, self-awareness or responsible decision-making, is that because I do what I do and I research. So in K through 5, social awareness is identity and diversity. Develop an understanding of the importance of diversity in a community. Social awareness, explore and appreciate the various similarities we share. And again, this, who is an immigrant? K through 5, different colors of beauty. Family colors, interviewing our families, art and activism. That's social awareness. So one, this is a perfect example of The little 5 things that why don't you want your child to learn about bullying? Well, I'm sorry, but that's not what they're teaching them. First and foremost, social awareness, equity, justice, looking closely at ourselves, 3 to 5, explore race and self-identity. So guys, this is what second step is. Social emotional learning is not all about warm and fuzzy, let's explore our feelings to death, literally in some cases. And it's not this wonderful thing that people say it is. And if they're still telling you that, especially teachers, and it's like I say with politicians, if anybody is still telling you that it's just, why don't you want children to be, stop bullying? Well, there's a lot of things wrong with that argument. One is they will tell you it is teaching children values, morals, attitudes, and beliefs. Guess what? Not your business. And the fact that all 50 states now have pre-K CASEL SEL, 44 states have CASEL SEL explicitly. The other 6 have CASEL SEL, CASEL, CASEL, the collaborative, why can't I remember it? For social emotional learning. It's Bill Gates, Chan Zuckerberg, all the big Bezos. I mean, it's world domination, and they're connected to the UN. We'll get into that different. But guys, is that you need to understand that when they tell you it's about the warm and fuzzies, it's not about the warm and fuzzies at all. It's not. Inclusive. So let's look at the inclusive communities activity. And so this would be kindergarten through grade 5. Inclusive communities. So this is when K through 5, they're going to start talking about this, problem solving issues, teaching them, making a community importance of cooperation and inclusiveness within the community, which doesn't sound bad, but until you understand what social emotional learning is that it is making them part of the collective. You'll see the word agency used a lot. Collective, collaborate, that kind of stuff. And it's been going on for years, guys. This is not new. And so having an opt-out is a huge win. And you can do it too if you're not in Chesterfield County. But guys, this is just the beginning. So the screener, this is just a quick sample, but let me actually pull up. So after I had the bar call and the Office of Civil Rights call the school board attorney because he denied me the Protection of Pupil Rights Amendment that affords every parent the ability to see your child's curriculum, period, is when they really were like, okay, we're going to have to start listening here because she's not just spewing up hot air. So this is what Chesterfield sent me for my 6th grader last year. And guys, keep in mind, this is all done. Now, see, this is what I'm talking about, scope and sequence. They're going to send you, these are just clips of videos. This is when you write them back and you say, I'm sorry. And they're going to pull some kind of copy. This is copyright. Say, I don't want to sell it. I'll come see it. Go to the school and see it. If you want to actually see it. If you're an investigator or researcher who's driving, who's going to change this, then that's how you do it. If you just want them out, if you're in a county that's not responding to opting out, contact me, because if I can get through to Chesterfield County, anybody can really get through to anybody. And I mean anybody, if you know our school board. So this is what they'll do is they'll pull, this is called scope and sequence. They'll just send you, I don't want screenshots of a video. What in the world does that do for me? They'll say, well, copyright. Say, okay, I'll come to you. And you go and you sit and you watch it. But the thing is that this is all done in group atmospheres with 11-year-old children. So it's conformity. It's a slew of things that you don't want done. I mean, I don't. So this is lesson 1, how to grow your brain. And it does. It sounds warm and fuzzy the way that they present it. and it goes through, I mean, I have all the lessons. But it just takes a tiny bit of research to actually figure out what second step actually is. And it's not warm and fuzzies. It's not any of that stuff. Let me see if I can find it. Sorry. Okay, so what does Dessa do? This is what Dessa does. So your child fills out a survey, and the Dessa Mini is done K through 8. And the Dessa Mini is done by teachers at least once a month. I had a teacher call it that stupid PBIS survey. So they're not qualified to do it, first of all. It's questions like, has the student participated? I can't believe I usually have everything, but I've tried to rush. I want to show you guys all this because it's so important, but I was trying to, before I have to go do dance mom duty in like 10 minutes. So I wanted to show you guys what Dessa does to children, and then I'll jump back on, I don't know, in like an hour or two and show you everything that you need to show. But just so you know, what you have now been given the ability to do is you're opting your child out with Dessa. The teachers, and then 9 through 12, you can ask children who are, say, in high school in Chesterfield County if they did an Aperture self-reporting. And that's by the same company, Dessa, who partners with Aperture. And the children were doing self-reporting 9th through 12th last year. So, and then K through 8, the teacher does it once a month, at least once a month, with 8 completely looking benign questions like, does the child, has the child been nice to somebody? And Dessa, it spits out these T-scores. And you should see the ones that Dessa spits out on the special education children. I'm sorry, but spitting out T-scores on a test from an unqualified SPED teacher, an aide, or even a general ed on the child's likelihood of schizophrenia. And keep in mind, guys, the data, this stuff sits, look, so Dessa, because they want a social emotional score on your child. That's been the whole goal of social emotional learning, because if they can assess their emotional health, this is what they're selling you. Okay. So there's many ways that you can look at it as to why it's wrong. The actual, one day I will hopefully be able to get to the global implications, which has to do with our government currently. And why he won't do anything about SEL, that's a different story. So it's here to stay. It's not going anywhere for now. So opting out is something that is a win that everybody, at this point, we can't fight Bill Gates and the UN because that's where it's coming from. I mean, it's global. There's a reason for it. But this stuff here, conduct problems, a T-score, and then see, that's the thing, is that you imagine the triangle of multi-tiered system is that, and here you can look up VTSS, the Virginia tiered, I forget what it stands for, but the triangle. And the bottom, I would say this much, is tier 1. And they will say all children, universal mental health, universal behavior screeners. So this is under is that so you'll have, this is what the VTSS looks like. This is all children. I'm going backwards. All children are getting mental health screeners. And then what the screener does is that it then, based on a teacher's 8 questions in Chesterfield County, it just spits out a T-score of their likelihood of having aggression, depression, anxiety, self-control, anger control. But here, guys, this is where it starts to get really like, is like their career strength, workforce-driven education, their affective strength, family involvement, atypicality, withdrawal, hyperactivity, aggression, conduct problems. But then you start to get into like major depressive disorder, oppositional defiant disorder. And then they move up to the second tier, which is where you get into like your, what they call them, like restorative groups, restorative sessions, where then they go into like small group sessions. And then after that, so how are these kids that are all getting mental health, which is what this is, and they're all getting mental health screeners? But then right here, you can look up the Library of Virginia, and here, the student's cumulative file, long-term documentation, 75 years post-graduation. So we're literally talking about a social credit score. So just real quick, that's Dessa. That's what Dessa does right here. And this is why you want to opt your kid out. Now, it's not just Dessa. The one that you've probably heard of most is Panorama, because Panorama is Merrick Garland's son-in-law. This was Mark Zuckerberg's first purchase for his first venture post-Harvard, to put that connection together. Because the people driving this, you've got Bill Gates, Chan Zuckerberg Initiative. That's going to be social emotional learning, CASEL, the whole child, which you'll start to hear a lot more now. But guys, this language has been coming, but because we didn't have Common Core, which is the lie, you can look across the nation and look at people, Utahns fighting Common Core. Guys, we have standards of learning. It's the same exact thing, except think about who our governor was that told us that he was saving us from Common Core back in like 2009. Do you really think that no, the standards are actually much worse, and I've sent them to the other states that I work with. So this has been going on a very, very long time. And if you look across, the language is the same as what the Common Core fighters have been fighting. And they start talking about the drive for workforce education, cradle to grave, cradle to college, data assessments. And I'll get into what's frightening about this drive for Head Start and all this free government preschool, because there's a mini version of this. It's called DECA, DECA, 18 to 36 months, and then 36 to pre-K. They're doing stuff like eye contact. And so this emotional score that they're doing with Dessa or DECA, they're going to start doing with like 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds. Why do you think that there's all 50 states have pre-K social emotional learning through CASEL right now? And nothing is taught second step, anything. You might not have second step, but whatever you have in your division is CASEL aligned. You may not have Dessa, but you might have Panorama. You might have Sabers. You might have, there's like a slew. They're all CASEL aligned. So the best way I can put it to people is, imagine being under a tent and you have not just the state, but the globe. Everything social emotional and learn is coming from one place globally. All tests, everything has to align to that nice little circle that says it's just about bullying, CASEL. And then all assessments have to be aligned with CASEL. And then you want to talk about a monopoly in a RICO case, is that everything in education right now is being driven by one company. But sorry, I digress again. So this win for Chesterfield County is huge. It is. It's absolutely huge. Mainly because that there is a right way to do this. And this is not a big win that we should have to be fighting for. This is something that we should already get. That should not be something that I had to fight 8 months for. There's plenty. Look at Fairfax. Fairfax, Jim Siegel was their data engineer for 20 years. And he's now, the future of Privacy Forum. Thanks, Chris. The future of Privacy Forum is one of those people. They love data. They believe in it, but they believe it should be done correctly. You would think that our Secretary of Education, Amy Gadara, the founder of Data Quality Campaign, the second most funded next to Castle group ever by Bill Gates, I'll just drop that there, would have come into Virginia proudly with this data that she believes in because it's so amazing, that she would have been enforcing data laws, data transparency, which I went bonkers at the Board of Education, Virginia, 2 weeks ago on that. But that's the thing, is that Fairfax, they send parents out an actual manual for kindergarten through 8th and then 9th through 12th. It has all the federal law. It has all the opt-outs. This is including the data. You can opt out your data collection. You can you should not have to seek this out constantly and go to groups like myself and Bobby and Virginians for Children's First. And I should not be spending my time explaining to people federal law exists to protect our children. And if your school is lying to you, they're lying. And it's so important. And the reason the thing is that nobody else is talking about this because every group takes grant money. Everybody fighting for the books, everybody fighting against CRT. They'll fight CRT. They'll fight transgender. They'll fight the books. They'll give you money, grant money. But the second you want to talk about SEL, and this is lived experience, if I'm going to use that, they won't, nope. They don't want to talk about SEL. They don't want to talk about data. You put 2 and 2 together about why. Because, guys, all the stuff that's going on in the state of Virginia that people don't want to wake up to, none of it exists without social emotional learning or data collection. So when everybody says, oh, go write so-and-so, they give so much money to people fighting CRT. I've written those people. And the second that fighting CRT turned into social emotional learning, they didn't want to give us money anymore. And sorry, I learned my lesson. I've been clean 15 years. I don't compromise my morals for anybody. I follow my moral code to a T, and you're not going to shut me up. And so just keep in mind, we do this and we do it because it's my call. It wasn't a conference call, and we bust our asses every day doing it. We have a website that has all this opt-out information, and you can sign up for newsletters. And sometimes it just feels like, what are we doing? Nobody's listening. What am I doing? And then days like today, I'm like, it's worth it, because whether 60,000 children in Chesterfield parents knew or listened or didn't care, the fact that now they're at least aware that there's something going on, it makes the last 8 months and the days that we wanted to give up because nobody cared and nobody was listening, it makes it 100% worth it. When I get people sending me the people that pay attention, and then the people that didn't pay attention asking me, what is this? Is this something new? No, guys, they've been doing this for years, for at least the last 5 years. They've been doing social emotional learning, second step, and Dessa, the data collection on your child's behaviors, attitudes, and beliefs, giving them a T-score that it has the potential, 75 years, to be a generational social credit score on our children, like China. Because if it sits there 75 years post-graduation, that means that your children's children are going to, then it becomes a generational social credit score. And so how I ended up winning in Chesterfield County, and I'm still winning because we're going to get all of the opt-outs. And the last thing I want to show you guys, but is that I sent what it does to the school board and to the people in the county that I know still have children that go to school in this county. And I told them, and I said, they did not know. This school board had not even looked at the second step curriculum until probably 3 weeks ago. So don't ever assume that your school board knows, especially a lot of times they don't know, even though the law states that it's their responsibility. So that hell hath no fury come raining down on them. I would want to know. And anybody running for school board or on school board that doesn't know what's being taught in your schools, I would surely quickly check up. I would look it up. I wanted to show you guys real quick the oh, here it is. The Parent, Chesterfield County, where are you? The Parent Handbook, because it has miraculously changed. Ooh, what is that? Oh, what that is. Sorry. The student handbook, if you guys have not looked at it, you definitely need to, because it says right in here that you have access to, here it is. So this is different. I haven't had a chance to dissect the difference between the one I had saved for this upcoming year. Don't get me started. 100% accredited. We haven't had accreditation in the last 3 years. They're still spewing that lie. Oh, there they are. Winners, 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 winners. But guys, right down here, I can't even get through all that. I wanted to show you this real quick. Oh, there's so much I want to pick apart with you guys. I just can't. Where is it? Sorry if I'm making you nauseous. Okay, so right here, if you signed or returned anything without reading it, don't do that again. Okay, guys. But this right here is different. This is new. So they give you a whole bunch of blah, blah, blah. But then right here, social and emotional counseling helps students develop an understanding of themselves and how their choices affect them and others. Okay, it's a whole bunch of fluff. It's a whole bunch of BS. Classroom lesson plans and materials to be used at each grade level are available for review. Keep in mind, I was told to basically pay $86 an hour in FOIA and to kiss his ass last year. This is new. Parents, it's saying parents can review the lesson plans at specific grade levels for each classroom group guidance activity. To review lesson plans or school counseling materials, parents should contact their student's counselor and make an appointment for the review. If you want to see, I would want to see. If a parent, and then it says, if a parent does not want a child to participate, this was before they sent out the opt-outs, a request should be made in writing to the principal before the schedule. And this I had a problem with. I said, no, parents aren't going to read this. You need to send an opt-out that's affordable by law and 100%. If you're so proud of what you're doing, why are you hiding it? But right here where he says alternative lessons will not be provided. This is like SOLs. They're doing that like, oh, well, your child's going to get a 0. No. Your child will get a 0, but it'll go to the county for their needing 95%. But right there, alternative lessons will not be provided. Do not let that scare you, because the Protection of Pupil Rights Amendment says an alternative curriculum must be provided, or the child cannot be dinged, as I call it. Your child will not lose any credits for this. Because, guys, they're not learning anything from it to grade on. All they're using it is to collect data on their behavior. So right there, alternative lessons will not be provided. Awesome. But the law states is that they have to offer alternative curriculum. And so by him saying alternative lessons will not be provided, it's 100% messing with parents' minds again, which is what my huge problem with this county is, and all counties, is that you could have said alternative lessons will not be provided and children will not be punished, is how an appropriate human would have finished that. But so if you did read that, just know that Protection of Pupil Rights Amendment states that alternative lessons have to be provided, or students cannot be dinged or punished or their grades dropped. And that's just the bare minimum. I haven't had a chance. There's a whole mental health section. There's a whole bunch of stuff. But Dessa, MAP, and PALS were on part of their assessment review back in December with Dr. Pope. But miraculously, Maps and Pals is on the Parent Handbook for assessments, but Dessa's not, which is where I really started to get with them last year, is how are you going to have the same presentation on assessments, but you're not going to put that assessment in the handbook? So guys, I got to go, but it was a huge win. I really want to show you guys what Dessa is, what second step is, so that you know what you're opting out. And as I've said before, it's embedded, it's systemic. You can look up systemic SEL. It is in every curriculum. But this is a start, a huge start. And remember, you're the parents. I know a lot of parents ask me, they're like, well, my child might feel singled out if they get pulled out of class. Guess what? I can promise you, my hand to God, that what your child thinks of you, because you're the parent right now, and they might feel singled out because they're not going to be, because there's enough parents in this county that are aware enough that just like SOLs, your kid, you're going to have an auditorium full by the time I'm done. Is that what's going to happen to your children if you allow this stuff to be done to them is far worse than a little bit of if you think they're going to be alienated or singled out or any of that. And if you allow that to drive your decision whether to opt them out, what this is actually doing to children and what your child will come home saying to you and doing, and your child will be in high school a couple of years from now, rioting and picketing and walking out, and you won't understand why. This will be why. This is what they're teaching them. You can look at the VDOE SEL site, and by 8th grade, you've gone into full-on activism as their own standards of learning for SEL. So opt out, no question about it. This is a huge day, a huge win. I was going to rant and rave about the idiocy of what Abigail Spamberger and said regarding ratting children out to their parents about, oh my God, I can't even. But I couldn't get to that tonight. I am going to jump back on in a little bit after I go pick up my daughter. I got to go. I'm late. But this is a huge day in Chesterfield. And guys, this is just shows that if you are persistent, if you learn the law, if you stay in their face like I have, like we have at every school board meeting when 60,000 parents who did not show up, we were there. I'll show you the video. Last meeting, I had Dessa in front of me saying, you're doing this to children. Because, guys, we're at a place where this is going to destroy children. Destroy them. And I love when teachers are like, what? Why is teaching them about bullying? Well, you're obviously not in Flex Block or whatever class that this is being taught. And if anybody would love to jump on a show and have it with me, I would invite that we can have the discussion. So I can hear your castle explanation of how little research that you've actually done. Because, guys, they've been researching this for years. We are just late to the game. Boop, boop. But too bad we're late to the game, but we don't have time to catch up. So that's why I've been in your face about it. This is a huge win for Chesterfield County. 60,000 children whose parents got the opportunity to opt them out of something that they didn't even know that they were being taught. So big win, Virginia for Children's First, guys. Subscribe to the channel. Go to the webpage. There's so many opt-out forms. I post them all the time. There's shows that I've done nationally with people talking about this 6 months ago. The nation knows where we are. We do not. We collective, the collective. But if you want your child to be part of a collective, which is what this is, they no longer have their own identity. They have to look out for the well-being of the group over themselves, which is the direction of all of this, is they are a group that you look out for the well-being of the whole versus the well-being of yourself. And I'm not talking about in like a, oh, I'm selfish, I'm narcissistic kind of way. I'm talking about like the well-being of the group is more important than the well-being of the individual child. So don't let the whole child thing throw you off. But so subscribe. Please remember that this is a duo funded 501c4. If you feel moved, especially in Chesterfield County, that you got this chance to opt your child out to not have their emotional health tracked for the rest of their lives. If you are new to this game, just know that we are small. We are not big. People don't know a lot about us. because we are not going to get bought off. We're going to talk about this. I'm going to talk about Glenn Youngkin. I'm going to talk about the corruption going on everywhere. And I don't have an allegiance to any political party at all. My allegiance is to America and to the children in this generation that are getting destroyed, and to my children, of course. That's to my allegiance. It's not to a political party, because it is both sides of the fence right now. And that's the blatant truth of it. And that's a different story for a different day. So big win, guys. If you're feeling extremely generous and you want to help us, because we have a lot of events coming up that we have to purchase printing materials and things like that for. I think the link's in the go to the webpage. You can donate once. You can donate $5 a month. But because if not, Bobby and I might get divorced, because I think we both have had our credit cards cut up by our spouses. But anyway, I'm having a great night. I'm going to be late picking up my daughter, but I will be back on later to show you guys some more. Peace.